Hey everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Calvin. Today we are going to tackle a soft pretzel. So it plays on a lot of the techniques and stuff that we've been working on throughout these episodes because we are going to make a basic yeast dough. So we've learned a lot of the techniques that we already need, but this will be a good refresher. And also, yeah, you'll learn how to make some soft pretzels. So let's get down to it. So not a lot of ingredients for this. I have 1.5 cups of lukewarm water. I have 3 cups of flour and then another cup of flour off to the side. I have 1 tablespoon of butter. I have a package of active dry yeast. I have 1 tablespoon of sugar. You could also swap it out for a tablespoon of brown sugar if you want some molasses in there. And then we're gonna need a sprinkle of salt. And then for toppings, we're gonna brush some butter. We have some sea salt to throw on top. We got some cinnamon sugar mixture. And then over here, this is gonna be an optional kind of method to it. But if you want that kind of really traditional pretzel taste, you gotta do a baking soda water boil before you put it into the oven. So over here is just enough water to cover the pretzels when we put it in, and 1/2 cup of baking soda. So let's start moving before my water gets too cold. First thing we want to do, as always, is get the yeast into this water, and we just want to, it's already active, but we'll really activate it. And realistically, that's just gonna sit for maybe a minute. It's gonna go super fast. It's active dry yeast, so it's already active. So we're just kind of developing it a little bit more and kind of waking it up. While that's happening, let's just kind of run through and sift our flour so that it's easier later on when we have to actually start mixing everything. So the reason we have it separated is we know that we're gonna need 3 cups of flour. The additional cup kind of varies. And it's also additional flour for your workspace when you start kneading the dough. We're gonna go ahead, just sift both of these just to be on the safe side. A lot of the times you're not gonna use all of the flour, but it does not hurt to put sifted flour back into your flour container. So, now that we've let that sit, let's start to give the yeast loves sugar. Let's get the sugar into there first. Let's just give that a stir. This way we could feed the yeast a little bit. Now right about when you get to this stage, let's get your water boil, the stove on, and let's get the oven set to 400 degrees. So now that we have the sugar in there, we've let it sit for 20-25 seconds. Let's get the butter into there. Let's get a pinch of salt into there. Now you're gonna wanna use, since we're adding salt into it, we want unsalted butter. Now let's give that a quick stir. Now, let's get to the flour. So with the flour, we don't want to dump everything in at once. We basically want to do it 1 cup at a time. So we have 3 cups in here. So we're just going to do 1/3 of it at a time. Let's just start mixing. Could also do this in a stand mixer. But what is the fun in that? this should be, you know, everything's working correctly when you can kind of smell the sourness from the yeast. Get a little bit more in here. Starting to take its form. Still pretty lumpy, so we still got to keep working on it. Once it's not as lumpy, let's get the rest in there. And this is really when it's going to start to look like a dough. Once that third cup is in. So you're almost kind of folding the dough into itself with your spoon. That kind of makes it so that not as much flour gets out of the bowl. It is all right if the flour gets out of the bowl because you're going to work your dough on the actual counter. So that'll actually help you in the long run. So it's still a little bit sticky. So that's where our additional cup of flour comes in handy. So, but now we got to be careful so we don't put too much flour. So we want to go little by little. At this point, I like to get the spoons out of there, the mixers out of there. Just go in with my hands. Feel it a little bit better. You know, so there's no reason to keep it in the bowl at this point. Let's turn it out onto our surface. Scrape the bowl out. We've also worked on kneading in previous episodes as well. But what we want to do, get everything kind of together, press it down, fold it over towards us, press one more time, and then that's what we're doing. You're pressing forward and down at the same time. And as you hit sticky spots, you can kind of dust the top of it, dust your hands, spread it out a little bit, just fold it in. As I hit those sticky spots, dust the hands, dust the top. A really easy way to integrate flour in. Plus you gotta knead the dough anyway, so might as well do them both at the same time. Now it's coming together. It's still gonna be a little bit sticky. So now we have it just about where we want it to. Winding down on the last couple of kneads that we need to do. I want to be conscious of that. What we're going to do, we're going to kind of fold everything into itself so that we form this on the bottom. Then we're going to trap all that air in there. We're going to put that back into the bowl. Going to cover it with a towel. Going to put it in one of the warmest places in the kitchen without being in the oven. Gonna let that sit for probably like 15 minutes. And then we get to cutting it, rolling it, boiling it, baking it, and then we're done. All right, so we've taken the dough out. We've cut it into quarters. So now we're gonna start working on it a little bit. So we wanna stretch it out. Now to do that, we wanna go back and forth rolling motion. As we're rolling the dough out, we're moving towards the edges. This way, it ensures that everything should be the same thickness all throughout. And you're not gonna have to do too much because you do want to keep it a little bit thick. So, the way to make the traditional pretzel, once you have it like this, you're gonna take it, take the ends, bring them towards each other, and then cross them. So they're crossed, go around once, go around twice, bring it down, bring those out a little bit, and then you pinch those ends in. So now that we have this formed, we just got to get over to the boil mixture. So we're going to turn the heat up on that. And be ready, because this, once you enter this part of the process, you cannot step away, because we only want the pretzel to be in this mix for 20 to 30 seconds. So drop it right into there. And then we're gonna, and then you have your pan ready on the side. So I have a pan with parchment paper that I sprayed down a bit. That way nothing sticks to it. All right, 20 seconds. So it hits the 20-second mark, you start to try to take it out. Make sure your pan is close to you. Right. Now let's do the other ones. Now that we have these out of the water, we're gonna brush some butter onto it. Butter will help your toppings stick, and also will give it a butter flavor, which is always a plus. Once you have it, basically put it anywhere that you want toppings to stick to. Always save some for the end. So one of them we are going to do with some cinnamon sugar. Now you could also, if you waited for the pretzel to kind of cool down, you could put the plate with cinnamon sugar so you just kind of dip your pretzel into it. Once you have that all on, the other one we're just going to do salt. So I have just some sea salt. I want to just sprinkle all over. You could also get some fine, coarse grain sea salt that will look more like a traditional pretzel. So now that we have that on there, we're gonna pop it into the oven and take a peek at it after about 12 minutes. But I have a hint that these are going to take longer. So we'll just keep an eye on them. All right, so these did take a little bit longer. We pulled them out after about 15 minutes. It's very easy to tell when the salt one is done, because you get a nice brownness on top. Honestly, you could let it go a little bit longer, but they are cooked all the way through and everything. So these ones are a little bit more tough to judge. You can kind of just go with the feeling it method. Just be very careful because there is sugar on there and it will be hot. But if you press it and it kind of springs back, that's a good indicator. And so that will do it. Obviously, if you make smaller pretzels, they will cook faster. But yeah, play around with it. Do some different dips on the side, do some different toppings. But that is a basic pretzel recipe. So until next time.